The endless desert stretched beyond the horizon like a golden ocean. Waves of sand shimmered under the twin suns of Tau Cygni IV, a harsh and lonely planet at the edge of human space. No trees, no rivers, no life, only dust, wind, and heat that could melt steel. For Commander Elias Rain, this desert had become home. He had spent 5 years here, leading the last surviving human research base on the planet. Their mission had started with hope, to terraform Tau Cygni IV and make it a new colony for humankind. But the dream had turned into a slow disaster. The climate was too unstable, the atmosphere too thin, and the sandstorms too violent. Half of his crew had left. The rest were losing faith, yet Elias refused to quit. He wasn't the kind of man who gave up, not after everything humanity had fought for. Humans had faced worse, wars, alien threats, and dead worlds, and still survived. If there was even a small chance of saving this mission, he would find it. On the morning of the 527th day, the storm sensors began to scream. Another massive sandstorm was forming, a wall of wind taller than mountains moving fast toward the outpost. Elias gathered his team quickly. "Pack what you can," he ordered. "We move to the canyon shelter before the storm hits." His second-in-command, Lieutenant Rana Voss, looked at the readings. "Commander, that's not a normal storm. The energy signature is strange. There's something under it." "Like a pulse," Elias frowned. "A pulse?" "Yes, sir, like machinery." The word sent a chill through the room. Machinery beneath the desert? The scanners on this planet had never shown any life, any structure, nothing artificial. Elias's curiosity rose instantly. Maybe it was old alien tech. Maybe even a way to power their base again. "Prepare a scout team," he said. "We're checking it out." Rana hesitated. "Sir, we'll lose the chance to reach shelter if we stay." "I know," Elias said. "But this planet has been dead for centuries. If there's something alive or workings out there, I need to see it." The small expedition of 5 humans rode out across the dunes in armored crawler vehicles. The storm rolled closer behind them, turning the sky dark. Wind screamed across the sands, shaking the metal frames. Dust filled the air, making it hard to see. Yet Elias kept his eyes on the radar screen. The pulse signal was growing stronger. After an hour, their scanners showed a massive anomaly below the surface. The sand depth suddenly dropped into a void. "Looks like a sinkhole," Rana said, "almost 200 meters deep." Elias stepped out of the crawler, his boots sinking slightly into the warm sand. The air was dry and heavy. "If that's a sinkhole," he said, "then it's the biggest one I've ever seen." A faint vibration traveled through the ground. Slow, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Before they could react, the sand beneath them shifted. The crawler tilted forward, its front wheels sinking. Then, without warning, the ground collapsed completely. The entire team plunged into darkness. When Elias woke up, he was lying on solid stone. His helmet lights flickered weakly. Around him, the others were coughing and trying to stand. Their crawler had fallen apart, half buried in sand. "Everyone alive?" Elias called out. "Barely," Rana groaned. "We fell at least 50 meters. Elias switched his helmet lights to full power and froze. They were standing in a vast underground hall. The ceiling stretched high above, supported by enormous pillars carved with glowing patterns. The walls shimmered faintly like glass mixed with gold. Strange energy flowed through thin channels along the floor, lighting up the space in a soft blue glow. "What is this place?" whispered one of the engineers. Elias slowly turned, taking in the sight. The hall opened into an even larger chamber. Massive statues lined the walls. Tall, robed figures with long faces and eyes that seemed to sparkle with starlight. Each statue held a staff pointed toward the center of the room. "This isn't natural," Rana said quietly. Elias approached one of the statues. Its material looked like crystal, yet it felt alive. When his gloved hand touched it, the air trembled slightly, as if the entire chamber reacted to his presence. A low hum filled the room. The glowing lines on the walls brightened, spreading like veins of light. The floor began to vibrate. Commander," said the engineer nervously. "I think you activated something." Before Elias could respond, the room came alive. Streams of golden dust lifted from the ground, swirling around them. The statue's eyes lit up, and the hum became a melodic tone, deep, ancient, and strange. The team raised their weapons, but Elias lifted a hand. "Hold fire. Don't shoot." From the far end of the chamber, a doorway opened silently. A tall, robed figure stepped out, its skin pale like moonlight, its eyes glowing faint blue. More followed. dozens of them moving gracefully, their feet not touching the floor. They surrounded the humans in a perfect circle. None of them spoke, but Elias could feel a strange vibration through his chest, like their voices were speaking directly into his mind. Then, one of them, taller and older looking than the rest, stepped forward. Its robe shimmered with symbols that moved like living light. It reached out a long hand and touched Elias's forehead. A flood of images burst into his mind. Burning skies, ships of light crossing galaxies, golden cities rising from oceans, and a great war that ended in fire and sand. The visions faded as quickly as they came. Elias fell to one knee, gasping. The robed figure spoke aloud now, its voice echoing like music through the air. The king returns, from the world of ash and flame. The other beings bowed deeply, their glowing eyes fixed on Elias. He looked around, confused. King, I think you've got the wrong person. But they didn't move. The leader raised both arms high. He who bears the blood of the Skyborn returns to rule. The prophecy is complete. Rana stepped forward cautiously. Commander, maybe we should... Before she could finish, the sand around them shifted again. From hidden vents, streams of golden light formed symbols across the ground. Elias's suit sensors detected massive power sources activating deep below. The being spoke again, this time directly into Elias's thoughts. The sands remember you, Skyborn. The city wakes for you alone. The lights brightened until the entire chamber glowed like a sunrise. The ground opened slightly, revealing mechanical roots stretching into the depths, ancient technology still alive after centuries. The humans could barely breathe under the intensity of it. Then everything went still. The robed beings lowered their heads, and the leader, the seer, looked directly into Elias's eyes. Welcome home, my king. Hours passed. The Sarathi, as the beings later called themselves, led the humans through their underground city. It stretched for miles beneath the desert, filled with towers of crystal, bridges of light, and quiet flowing rivers that shimmered like mercury. Everything pulsed with soft blue energy, and strange wing-like machines floated through the air, repairing walls and carrying objects. The Sarathi spoke in melodic tones, but their leader, Seer Lyran, seemed able to translate through telepathy. We once lived above the dunes, Lyran explained. Our world was bright and full, but the stars burned too hot and we were forced below. We have waited many lifetimes for the return of the Skyborn King, one who would restore balance. Elias listened carefully but remained cautious. We're explorers, he said, not kings. And I don't think I'm the person you're waiting for. Lyran smiled faintly. You carry the sign, the mark of the Skyborn. The sand itself awakened when you touched the gate. No other has done this in 1,000 cycles. Elias looked down at his hands. The dust on his gloves still glowed faintly gold. His helmet readings confirmed a strange energy signature on his skin, something the scanners couldn't identify. Maybe it was coincidence. Or maybe something deeper was happening. They were given rest chambers, comfortable, glowing rooms filled with warm light. But Elias couldn't sleep. His mind was full of questions. Who were these people? How did they survive down here for so long? And why did they think he was their king? He stepped out quietly, walking to a balcony that overlooked the glowing city. It was beautiful, silent, mysterious, and ancient beyond imagination. Yet there was something unsettling beneath its beauty. He couldn't shake the feeling that every wall, every statue, every light was watching him. From the shadows behind, Lyran's voice drifted softly. Does the king not rest? I'm not your king, Elias replied. I'm just a man trying to understand what's going on. The seer stepped beside him, eyes glowing gently. Understanding comes with time. Destiny does not ask for belief, only acceptance. Elias looked back over the vast city and said quietly, Maybe, but I've learned one thing, destiny or not. Humans make their own fate. Lyran smiled again, but this time, the smile did not reach his eyes. Then perhaps fate has chosen wisely. Far above, the storm continued to rage across the desert. But beneath the dunes, the ancient city pulsed softly like a living heart, awakened once more. And deep in its silence, something old watched Elias with interest, waiting for the king to take his throne. The underground city of the Sarathi glowed like a dream. Its golden lights flowed through walls made of crystal stone, and thin rivers of energy ran across the streets like living veins. Everywhere Elias Rain looked, he saw wonders that defied human science, floating bridges, transparent towers, and machines that hummed like they were alive. To Elias and his team, it was beyond imagination. Humanity had built great cities on distant planets, but nothing like this. The Scifi had mastered energy, time, and light in ways humans could barely understand, and yet these people looked tired. Their faces were calm but pale, their steps slow. Elias could sense the quiet sadness behind their glowing eyes. The Scifi were dying, and they knew it. A city waiting for its king in. The days after their discovery, Elias tried to learn as much as he could. The seer Lyran stayed close to him, guiding him through ancient halls and grand archives filled with floating symbols. The more Elias saw, the more questions filled his mind. "How old is your civilization?" he asked once. Lyran's long fingers brushed against a wall, and light lines appeared in patterns like constellations. "Older than your stars," the seer said softly. "Before your kind learned to stand, we walked among the worlds. We built cities on 1,000 sands, but war came. Fire fell from the sky. The surface burned, and we went below." Elias studied the images forming in the air, worlds torn apart by explosions, great ships vanishing into storms. "You survived here underground?" "Yes," Lyran said. "But we lost much. Our strength, our numbers, our purpose. The air grows thin, the lights fade, and our hearts grow weary. The time of waiting has been long. And you think I'm the one you've been waiting for," Elias said slowly. Lyran turned to him, his blue eyes glowing faintly. "The moment you touch the gate, the city awoke. The signs written in the stars are clear. The Skyborn King has returned." Elias crossed his arms. "I'm no king. I'm a commander, a soldier, not royalty. King is only a word," Lyran said with a faint smile. "It means the one who leads us back to the light." Human curiosity back at their small assigned quarters, the human team was busy studying everything they could. Lieutenant Rana and the engineers had set up scanners and communication devices to record the city's data. "This place is a treasure chest," Rana said excitedly. "Their energy system. It's like they're drawing power from the sand itself. Look at this." She showed Elias a small glowing crystal the Scifi had given her. "It's producing endless energy with zero heat loss." Elias nodded. "If we can understand this technology, we can save every colony that's running out of power." But his expression remained tense. "I still don't like being called their king. Something about this doesn't sit right," Rana smirked. "Maybe they just like you." Elias gave her a look. "Or maybe they're hiding something." Still, despite his unease, Elias couldn't deny what he saw. The Scifi had technology beyond anything humans had ever dreamed of. Yet they shared it freely, teaching his team how to operate the devices. They seemed genuinely eager to help. But there were rules. Certain areas were always off limits, and whenever Elias asked about the deep tunnels below the city, the Seers went silent. The ceremony of light. After a week, Lyran invited Elias to a great ceremony, a ritual of renewal, he called it. The humans followed him through towering crystal gates into a massive circular hall. Thousands of Scifi gathered there, their robes shimmering like liquid gold. At the center stood a platform surrounded by floating orbs of light. Lyran motioned for Elias to step forward. "Today the city welcomes its king." Elias frowned. "I told you," but before he could finish, a soft light enveloped him. The floating orbs aligned above his head, spinning slowly. The crowd of Scifi began to hum, a deep vibrating sound that filled the air. The sound wasn't just heard. It was felt in the chest, in the bones, in the heart. The light formed into a crown, not made of metal, but of glowing dust and flowing energy. It descended gently, resting above Elias's head without touching him. His vision blurred. For a heartbeat, he saw everything. The whole city alive beneath the desert, the power running through its walls, the stars above the sand and far beyond them, countless worlds connected by invisible threads of light. Then, he heard whispers, not from the Scifi, but from something older. A voice in his mind, "You are the bridge, the one who walks between fire and sand." Elias gasped, staggering slightly. Rana rushed forward, but Lyran raised a hand. "He sees now," the seer said quietly. "He is bound to the city." The crown faded, leaving only a faint golden mark on Elias's forehead. What did you do to me? He asked sharply. Nothing, Lyran said softly. The city recognizes you. You are part of it now. Visions of the past that night, Elias couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw flashes of strange memories, not his own. He saw Sarathi ships sailing between stars, humans walking among them, sharing knowledge and friendship. He saw an ancient war that broke the alliance and a storm of light and fire that ended everything. He woke up sweating. The golden mark on his forehead still glowed faintly in the dark. Rana noticed it the next morning. You look like you haven't slept. I didn't, Elias admitted. I saw things. History, war, maybe memories from this place. Could be a neural link, Rana said thoughtfully. Their tech is probably connecting you to the city's systems. Elias nodded. Or it's trying to control me. Rana gave him a serious look. You think they're lying? I don't know, Elias said. But I've led enough missions to know when people are keeping secrets. The dying city days turned into weeks. Elias began to see more of the Sarathi's world. Many of their people were weak. Their skin glowed less with every passing day. Some barely moved, lying in chambers filled with golden mist that kept them alive. When Elias asked Lyran about it, the seer's expression turned sorrowful. Our energy runs out, Lyran said. The crystals that feed us fade. We once drew strength from the sun, but now we cannot return to the surface. The storms above are death to us. Elias thought about the surface storms, the deadly winds that had nearly destroyed his own base. We humans can survive those. Maybe we can help. Lyran smiled sadly. You already helped, my king. The city woke because of you. The old energy flows again. The Sarathi will live if the king restores the balance. Elias hesitated. And how do I do that? The answer lies in the heart of the city, Lyran said softly. But you are not ready yet. The city must trust you fully. Elias didn't like that answer, but he had no choice, and they were guests in this place. And the only path to survival was understanding it. The Archive of Memory. One day, Lyran took Elias to the Archive of Memory, a chamber filled with countless crystal pillars glowing with gentle light. Every crystal is a life, the seer explained. Each holds the memories of one Sarathi. When a body fades, the memory remains. Elias touched one crystal gently. A vision filled his mind. A Sarathi child running through golden fields beneath a blue sky, laughing, playing, chasing the wind. Then the image broke apart, replaced by the burning sky and collapsing towers. Elias stepped back, shaken. You lost everything, Lyran nodded slowly. We lost hope. Until now, the seer turned to him. The surface is poison to us. But for you it is home. If you lead us, we can return. You can bring life back to the dunes. Elias looked at the endless rows of glowing crystals. You want me to help you rebuild your world? To rebuild both our worlds, Lyran said. For you and for us. Shadows behind the light, but not all Sarathi welcomed Elias. In the following days, he noticed small changes. Whispers that stopped when he entered a room. Guards who followed too closely. And glances that seemed more hostile than respectful. Rana noticed too. They're watching us, she whispered one night. Too many guards for simple protection. I know, Elias said. They're hiding something, maybe something under the city. He had tried to access the tunnels below the crystal halls, but the passages were sealed by energy barriers. Every time he asked, Lyran's answer was the same. Not yet. One night, while exploring secretly, Elias found a wall etched with unfamiliar symbols. When he touched it, he saw a brief vision. Sarathi kneeling before a throne of gold. A figure wearing the same crown of light he now bore. But as the vision cleared, he saw that the figure was not being honored. It was being sacrificed. Elias stepped back, heart pounding. The wall's glow faded again, leaving only silence. What did I just see? He whispered to himself. He didn't know the answer. But deep down he could feel it. The city was waking, but not for peace. Something darker was moving beneath the surface. That night, as Elias stood on the balcony of his chamber, he looked at the ceiling far above, where the desert sands pressed down on this hidden world. The golden mark on his forehead glowed faintly again. Rana approached quietly. You think we should leave? Elias shook his head. Not yet. There's more to learn. But stay ready. I don't trust their smiles anymore. Far below them, the city's lights pulsed, like a giant heart beating faster. And in the shadows of the lower tunnels, Unseen by human eyes, rows of Sarathi warriors sharpened long, curved blades of crystal, their eyes burning with purpose. The city had waited for its king. Now it was preparing for the feast of the king. The golden city beneath the desert no longer felt peaceful. What once seemed beautiful and calm now felt like a trap built from light and silence. Commander Elias Rain could feel it, in the quiet footsteps behind him, in the way the Sarathi guard's eyes followed every move, and in the strange whispers that drifted through the glowing halls when the lights dimmed. His team noticed it too. Lieutenant Ranavos had become cautious, double-checking every scanner and keeping her weapon ready even inside their quarters. The others were restless. The feeling of danger was growing every day. The calm. Before the feast one morning, the seer Lyran appeared with a calm smile. "The time has come," he said. "Tonight the city celebrates your rule. The coronation feast awaits the king." Elias studied his expression carefully. "A feast?" "Yes," Lyran said, bowing his head. "Our people will honor the skyborn king who has awakened the heart of the city. It will be a night of light and rebirth." Rana frowned. "We weren't told about this before." Lyran turned to her, his eyes glowing faintly. "There are many things the city reveals only at the right moment, Lieutenant. Tonight all will be clear." He left without another word. When he was gone, Rana looked at Elias. "Sir, this feels wrong. They've been too quiet lately. And now suddenly a celebration?" Elias nodded. "I agree. Keep the team close during the feast. Don't eat or drink anything until I say so." He looked up toward the ceiling where faint tremors from the sandstorms above could be felt. "If anything goes wrong, get to the crawler bay. We still have the emergency beacons." Rana nodded firmly. "Understood." The feast hall that evening, the city came alive with color and light. Golden banners hung from the crystal towers, and the energy rivers that ran through the streets glowed brighter than ever. The Sarathi moved in graceful lines, chanting in a language that sounded like music carried by the wind. The humans followed a procession through the glowing streets into a massive hall, unlike anything they had seen before. It was shaped like a circle, with columns of shining stone rising into the dark ceiling. In the center was a long table filled with shimmering dishes and floating cups that glowed softly. Lyran stood at the far end of the hall, waiting for them. He raised his hands as Elias and his crew entered. "Behold the skyborn king," he announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. The Sarathi bowed in unison. Elias forced a polite nod. "You honor us," he said carefully. Lyran smiled. "We serve as we were born to serve." They were guided to their seats. Every dish looked extraordinary. Fruits that sparkled like jewels, bread that shimmered with golden dust, and drinks that glowed blue in crystal cups. The scent was sweet and strange, not like any food Elias had ever known. For a while everything seemed peaceful. Music played softly, and the Sarathi around the table spoke words of praise. But something didn't feel right. Rana was quietly scanning the table with a small device hidden in her wristband. When she saw the results, her eyes widened in shock. She leaned toward Elias and whispered, "Commander, this food, it's not made from plants or animals. It's organic tissue. The molecular structure matches human DNA." Elias froze. "What?" he whispered back. "I checked 3 samples. It's human, sir." He looked down at the glowing fruit on his plate. It shimmered beautifully under the golden light, but now it looked horrifying. Elias clenched his fists under the table. "Don't touch anything," he said quietly. "Stay calm." Lyran was watching him closely. "Is the food not pleasing, my king?" Elias looked up slowly. "You said this was a celebration of life. Whose life exactly?" Lyran's smile didn't fade, but his tone changed. Softer, darker. "The life that gives life, my king. The offering that feeds the rebirth." The other seers around the table began to chant softly, their voices blending into one deep hum. The lights dimmed and the floor symbols began to glow again, the same patterns Elias had seen the day he arrived. Rana reached for her weapon, but before she could move, a Sarathi guard stepped behind her silently. Elias stood up fast. "That's enough," he said. "This ends now." Lyran tilted his head. "You misunderstand, Skyborn. You are not a guest here. You are the key. The city's heart beats for you, and through you." The trap revealed as he spoke. The golden mark on Elias's forehead began to glow again. Pain shot through his skull. He staggered, gripping the edge of the table. The city's hum grew louder and the air thickened with energy. The prophecy, Lyran said, his voice echoing, foretold the king who would awaken the sands and feed the heart with his fire. Only through sacrifice can we rise again. Rana drew her blaster and fired a shot into the ceiling. The beam exploded in a burst of light. Chaos filled the hall. The Sarathi didn't flee, and instead they chanted louder, their eyes burning bright blue. "Move," Elias shouted. "Everyone out!" His team jumped from the table, shoving through the crowd. Sarathi warriors blocked the exits, holding curved crystal blades that gleamed in the golden light. The humans fired warning shots, but the warriors moved too fast, their bodies glowing like liquid light. "Commander!" Rana yelled, throwing him a small detonator. Elias caught it and slammed it on the floor. The explosion of white smoke filled the hall, blinding the Sarathi for a moment. They ran, escaped through the city. The team dashed through the glowing corridors, alarms echoing behind them. The city's walls pulsed with red light now, reacting to their escape. Elias's headset crackled with static. The local network was jammed. "Rana, status," he shouted. "Too injured but moving," she replied. "The exit tunnels are sealed." They turned a corner only to find a group of Sarathi blocking the way. Elias fired his blaster at the floor, sending shards of crystal flying. The Sarathi retreated, shielding their eyes from the blast. "Keep moving," Elias ordered. They ran down a long hall that ended at a massive door covered in glowing symbols. Elias slammed his hand against it. The crown mark on his forehead glowed, and to his surprise the door responded. It opened with a deep rumble. Beyond it lay a chamber unlike any they had seen, a massive room filled with cables of golden light leading into a central structure. It looked alive, like a beating heart made of glass and energy. "The city's power core," Rana whispered. "This must be the heart Lyran talked about." Elias looked around the room. "Then this is what they wanted me for." The city's true purpose. Before they could move closer, Lyran's voice echoed through the chamber. He stepped out of the shadows, his robe torn but his eyes burning with light. "You cannot run from destiny, my king." "Destiny?" Elias shouted. "You tried to feed us human flesh." "The flesh of the sky is sacred," Lyran said. "Your kind carries the spark that can restore our world. Without your sacrifice, the sands will remain dead. You will not die. You will become one with the city as it was written." Elias shook his head. "You don't need my life. You need to face your own extinction." Lyran raised his hands. The walls glowed brighter. The ground trembled. "The time of humans has just begun. You are the bridge. And bridges must be crossed." Rana aimed her blaster. "Sir, we can't win this fight." Elias reached for his wrist communicator, his last hope. He pressed the emergency signal. Far above the desert in orbit, human drones began to move. The beacon had called them. The ground rumbled harder. Lyran's expression changed from calm to fury. "You bring fire upon the sacred city?" "You gave me no choice," Elias said. The fall of the feast, the ceiling cracked open. Beams of blue plasma tore through the stone, blasting the upper halls. The entire chamber shook violently. Energy sparks rained down like burning stars. The Sarathi screamed, but their screams weren't of fear. They were of joy. "The fire returns," one shouted. "The prophecy is fulfilled." Lyran reached toward Elias even as the floor began to crumble. "The king brings the storm. The city rises again." Elias grabbed Rana's arm. "Go, move now." They ran toward the far tunnel as explosions echoed behind them. The city's power core flared with golden light, sending waves of energy through every corridor. The Sarathi's glowing bodies began to dissolve into dust, their voices echoing through the air like a song. As Elias and his team escaped through a broken vent tunnel, he looked back one last time. The glowing city, once calm and beautiful, was collapsing, yet it looked almost peaceful as it fell. The desert awakens, they climbed out through a crack in the surface just as the sand exploded upward. The storm above roared with fury. Lightning streaked across the twin suns' horizon. The dunes shifted and glowed faintly as waves of golden light rose from beneath. Elias dropped to his knees, breathing heavily, watching the storm twist into the sky. "It's over," he whispered. Rana looked at him. "Is it?" Far in the distance, a faint glow spread beneath the sand, like veins of gold running across the desert. The ground pulsed slowly like a living thing. The Sarathi were gone. Their city was destroyed, but the planet itself, was changing. Elias stood slowly, staring at the horizon. "We may have ended them," he said quietly, "but maybe that's what they wanted." Rana frowned. "You mean the prophecy?" "Maybe," Elias said. "Maybe the fire they needed wasn't my death. It was rebirth." The desert wind howled softly, carrying with it a strange whisper, a voice faint but clear. "The king walks the sands. The heart still beats." Elias looked once more at the glowing horizon. The golden mark on his forehead flickered, then faded. But deep under the dunes, something still stirred, waiting. The desert was quiet. The storm that had raged above Tau Tignifyr's dunes had faded into distant rumbling clouds. The wind carried fine golden sand, shimmering faintly under the twin suns. Commander Elias Rain and his team sat on the cracked dunes, their breathing heavy. The underground city had collapsed behind them. Destroyed or perhaps reborn, no one could tell. The glowing energy beneath the sands had vanished, leaving only faint trails like veins of light. Yet Elias felt it, a pulse beneath the ground. The city's heart had not died. It waited. Lieutenant Rana Voss scanned the horizon. "Sir, the satellites confirm no life remains in the area beneath the dunes. The city is gone, but the energy readings are still active. Something is alive underground." Elias nodded, eyes narrowing. "It's not gone. It's sleeping, and it knows we're here." The secret beneath. For days, the team recovered their equipment and repaired the armored crawlers. Elias studied the desert, trying to understand the city's strange power. The pulse beneath the sand was not random. It moved like a heartbeat, growing stronger each night. "I can feel it in my bones," Elias said one night. "The city, or what's left of it,
wants something."
"And it wants me." Rana shook her head.
"Maybe we leave it alone."
"It's dangerous, sir. We survived the feast. Isn't that enough?" Elias looked at her, eyes hard. "We can't leave it. The city is alive. If we ignore it, it will awaken again. And next time, it may not wait for us to escape." Rana sighed. "I guess. The adventure isn't over yet." The heart of the desert, using the remnants of Sarathi technology, Elias located the core chamber, the place that had been the city's beating heart. The walls glimmered faintly beneath the sand, pulsing with golden energy. "This is it," he said, scanning the energy. "This is the place that wanted me at the feast." He studied the readings carefully. The chamber's energy had formed a massive network, connecting tunnels, pillars, and hidden machines. It was like a living organism, ancient, intelligent, and vast. "We can't destroy it completely," Elias said, speaking aloud. "But maybe we can control it. Guide it." Rana looked at him skeptically. "Control it? You're talking about alien technology older than humanity itself." Elias smiled faintly. "Humans have done worse. We've faced impossible odds before. And we survived. We adapt. That's what makes us human." Entering the heart, the team prepared for descent. Using the modified crawlers, they broke through the final barrier and entered the chamber. It was enormous. Golden light flowed from the walls and thin threads of energy pulsed across the floor. At the center, a massive crystalline structure rose like a throne, filled with glowing veins. The air hummed with power. Elias approached slowly, feeling the energy surge through him. The mark on his forehead flickered, and he realized the crown from the feast had left a permanent connection, a bond between him and the city. The city spoke to him. Not with words, but through thoughts, images, and feelings. "King, restore, awaken, guide, protect." Elias clenched his fists. "I will," he said aloud. "I'll save this place, without letting it harm anyone else." The last challenge, suddenly a shadow moved across the chamber. A group of Sarathi warriors emerged, remnants who had survived the collapse. They were glowing faintly, their eyes fierce. "You cannot take the heart," one said in a vibrating tone. "The king must feed the rebirth. You will become part of it." Elias realized the truth. The city had tried to claim him at the feast, but now he understood. It wasn't just trying to destroy humans. It was trying to survive. He raised his hand. "I'm not your offering. I'm not your pawn. But I can help you live when without hurting others." The Sarathi hesitated. Their glowing eyes flickered. The energy in the chamber pulsed faster. Elias acted. He reached out with the neural link in his mind, the connection the crown had created, and merged his consciousness with the city's systems. At first, it was overwhelming. Visions of stars, deserts, and rivers of energy filled his mind. He felt the Sarathi memories, the power of the city and the weight of centuries. But Elias held on. He focused on one thought: control, not destruction. Balance, not chaos. Life, not death. The awakening, the chamber began to change. The golden energy flowed calmly instead of violently. The crystalline pillars rose higher, now forming a protective dome. The remnants of the Sarathi stopped their advance, sensing Elias's will. "King," they whispered in awe. "You have tamed the heart." Elias opened his eyes, speaking aloud. "We survived together. Not through fear, not through sacrifice, but through unity," the city responded. The golden vein spread through the sand above, reshaping the dunes, lifting heavy rock and creating a new surface, one that could sustain life. Outside, the desert shifted. Dust became soil. Pockets of water appeared. Tiny green shoots began to grow, the first signs of life in centuries. Elias stepped back, exhausted but triumphant. "This is our home now," he said. "For humans, and for the Sarathi who want to live peacefully." A new beginning, the surviving Sarathi approached, bowing their heads. "The king has guided us," Lyran said softly. "The city lives again and without killing. You have given us life," Elias nodded. "I didn't do it alone. My team helped. And humanity adapts. That's what we do," Rana smiled. "We survived. And we did it without being eaten." Elias chuckled, finally letting himself relax. "Yes, without being eaten." For the first time in days, the team felt true relief. The city had been tamed. The desert had changed. And life, fragile and new, began to grow in the golden sands. The king of sand and stars weeks passed. Human explorers returned to the site, amazed to find the desert slowly transforming. Streams of water ran through the dunes and tiny plants sprouted. The energy readings were extraordinary. A clean power source that could fuel new colonies. The Sarathi who survived integrated with the humans. They shared knowledge of the stars, energy, and life. They taught humanity ancient wisdom and learned from humans in return. Elias stood on a dune at sunset, looking over the new landscape. The twin suns reflected off crystal formations left from the old city. He touched the mark on his forehead, faint but still glowing. It reminded him of the crown, the feast, and the trials. Some nights he thought he could hear faint whispers in the wind. The king walks the sands. The heart still beats, Elias smiled quietly. He didn't feel like a king in the old sense. He was a guardian, a protector, someone who had faced impossible odds and used human courage, intelligence, and compassion to guide both humans and aliens to safety. In a world where deserts once seemed empty and hopeless, life had returned. And it had returned because humans never give up. Above the dunes, the sky sparkled with distant stars. Among them, new human colonies waited, and the legend of the skyborn king would be told for generations, inspiring hope across planets. Elias turned to Rana and his team. "Let's make this our home, and let's make sure no one ever forgets what we've done here." Rana nodded. "A new beginning, Commander." Elias looked at the golden horizon. Yes, a new beginning. The desert was alive. The city's heart was alive. Humanity, and those who chose to live with them, were alive, and somewhere deep beneath the sands, the Sarathi's energy pulsed gently, no longer dangerous but peaceful. A gift from the past, guided by human courage, wisdom, and determination. The king had returned not as a ruler over death, but as a protector of life. The dunes shimmered under the twin suns, and the desert whispered, "The king walks the sands." The heart still beats.